Hangout is on there live, and so that's what it says. So this Hangout is on there live, and I'm trying to build a healthy habit. I'm trying to program myself in addition to programming these machines, man. And so this whole Nikeza thingy, I'm still trying to go full throttle. Last week, I struggled with motivation, and so I'm trying to combat that with just keep going and tackle these activities from a different perspective and try something new. So my mind doesn't get tired or get bored. And so this is yet another attempt of recording more and kind of doing things on the fly just to jumpstart my mind, confuse my mind so that it stays entertained. So some of the things that I've been working on is, well, I guess I should share my screen. Come here, screen. Come here. I'm gonna share my screen. Yeah. And so one of the things that I've been trying to do is, I guess I could kill you. Yeah. Is I've still been working on the server part as well, or actually the website of this Nikeza. So let me see if anything really changed. Nikeza.io. Come here. And yo, this functional geekery thing, man, it never bubbled back up. It is way down here, and it's not reflecting. It's not reflecting the latest episode, which is weird. Which should be 118 Sky Nimrod. So anyway, what I want to talk about is actually I don't really have anything specific to talk about. Some of it's going to be based on this notion of event storming. Other parts is going to be like, did they answer my question on Stack Overflow? Like, come here. And it says I have two items in here. So on Stack Overflow, I've been trying to test, and they still deduct a point. Like, how do I test that cookie authentication is working? Right? I'm not sure if cookie authentication is the proper term, but I'm trying to test on my local machine in dev mode when I spin up my local server and I spin up the local website of Nikeza, both running on my local machine, not on a remote server, but on my machine. How do I test that the cookie's working? Because when I try to test this, it's not working, meaning that I verified that this context.signin async gets executed, right? So this login, when I signed into Nikeza, which is this over here, I signed in over here, I observed that this executed, and I was told that, well, when this context I signed in async gets executed, then I should have some cookie that keeps track of my server session. Right? That's my understanding. I'm not a web developer, man. So it's like, regardless if my question sounds foolish or not, I need to figure out how to do this. The goal is on Nikeza, if I'm signed in and then I kill my browser session and then I launch my browser session later on in the evening or the next day, I still want to be signed in, meaning I don't want to keep hitting this landing page. I want to hit the user portal or the user portal page that this website has. And the only way that I'm aware that I can do that is, well, to take advantage of a cookie thingy. And I'm not sure how to do that because I've been following tutorials, instructions everywhere, and it's not working for me. So, some monkey decided that they wanted to deduct a point, for my question. And my question is pretty detailed. I think my question is pretty organized. My question states the steps that I've took. It states my expectations, and some monkey still wants to deduct a point. It's a hater. I bet you. I think I know who it is because he deducts points from my questions a lot of times. Anyway, so someone left a comment right here. Can you check whether the login request will actually respond with set cookie headers in your browser? Also, what do the logs say? Set them to debug for more information. Okay. I don't know what the logs say, but I can find out. And then I can get back to you. So, in addition to that, last night I discovered that when building out in the case of mobile, I'm going to have some common types. And so I had to create a new project. And when I mean common types, meaning that I had already had some types that were in my model on the Kesa server. So my model module in the Kesa server, I had hella types defined in here. And the majority of these types were focused on serialization, deserialization, meaning sending data across the wire, receiving data across the wire. So that I had a lot of that here. And when I was evaluating the case of mobile, preparing that solution, and I was defining all these different events in which I could launch the solution for that too, I realized that a lot of these types were going to be duplicated. And so that resulted in me creating another solution, or specifically a new library called Nikeza.common. So what that means is I now have Nikeza.common library in which we have this common module. And these are a lot of the types that are going to be carried over or going to be shared. Now, the client originally was the web application that is basically programmed in Elm. And well, Elm's not .NET, so I didn't have to run into this, but I mean, I declared similar types in Elm, but because this Nikeza mobile more than likely is going to be Xamarin Forms, and Nikeza server is .NET as well, then it just made sense to remove duplication and to have this shared library down here. So that's what I have. Now, if I go to Nikeza mobile, all this was flushed out based on me attempting to event storm and basically identify events that I know are going to occur, and then based on those events, identify other events that are associated to those events, such as before those primary events get executed or after those primary events get executed, were those events. And so something that in hindsight, I think is already handled, and I don't really have to handle it here as a type for a category of events is app events. So app loaded, app suspended, app exiting, unhandled exception. I think that stuff, if they're not events, I think they're covered as protected methods within the Xamarin framework. And so that I'm going to delete that, but I think it was important enough to at least acknowledge it, even if I delete it later. Okay. So these are some of the various do you really need to be pinned? So these are the various events that I conjured up: notification events, link events, registration events, and authentication events. For logged in, I'm not sure if it should probably have the profile attached, right? So I got in the case of comment in here. Do I have a reference in Nikesa Common? Do I have a reference? Yes, I do. I have a reference to Nikesa Common in my core project. So this log in, log out, this log in, I mean, maybe I should have a profile. Okay. And logged out. Maybe it's the same thing. I mean, someone has log out. Okay. This notification events, new subscriber. Maybe that's similar of profile. And basically just going through here, and this is kind of, I mean, to me, this is a big upfront design, except we're coding it. We're not on Microsoft Word uh, writing an essay about a system that is yet to be built, and then later on coding that system, and then going back and forth between the actual code and the big upfront design document, and modifying both of them and ensuring that they're both correlated, right? So this notion of the book that Scott Blashen had pretty much provided is, why not consider encoding the design as you code it? And so what Scott Blashen was saying is, in in OOP, you have a lot of shops, probably have almost every shop, that when they're doing design, they're immediately thinking about all the data structures, right? Because in OOP, aka object oriented programming, um, what is a class really? When you think about a class in object oriented programming, a class is coupling of state and behavior, right? That state is represented through properties of that class, as well as member variables, and that behavior is represented as methods. So, and they're bundled up into an actual class. And so you see a lot of shops that say, oh, well, we have to have I don't know, I worked at a telecommunications company that was pretty shitty, and so they would try to prophesy every single data type that they needed up front, which I disagreed with, um, because I feel like, well, okay, so you're going to think about all these different types that you need, and then you're going to start coding, and then they're essentially trying to model the real world. But I know for a fact that modeling the real world doesn't really work in object-oriented programming. I'm sure it does for some grand masters, but based on personal experience, like, you don't really focus on modeling the world. You focus on modeling the rules that the world has to comply with. And there's a difference, right? There's a difference between modeling real world objects versus modeling the rules that the objects have to comply with. Okay? I'm gonna let that marinate, because they didn't understand that. And I don't know. I guess based on my profile, maybe the way I talk or the way I look, they weren't trying to hear that from me either. And that's why their projects keep failing, and that's why people keep getting fired up there, because they don't know what they're doing. All right, so I'm done talking about that. So what Scott Blashen was talking about in his book is he was saying, instead of doing big upfront design and trying to prophesy all these different data structures that you're going to need, aka classes, Scott Blashen was saying, let's look at it a different type of way. And Scott was saying, when we're doing domain-driven design, when we're modeling the business domain, there's one thing that's for certain. There's one thing that's for sure. There will always be events that occur that the business needs to respond to. Okay? That's the truth. So he was saying, look at it from that perspective. And this led to this whole notion of event storming, which is my attempt of attempting to practice, right? And so don't he's saying, you know, let's not try to create data structures. Let's not try to identify all the different classes that we're going to need when we're designing our system. Yes, design's important. I get it, but let's hit it from a different perspective. Let's first define our system or start the process of exploring the system that we need to build or designing the system that we need to build by first identifying the events that our system has to respond to, okay? And then when we identify those events that our system has to respond to, that's going to flesh out other events. That's going to flesh out more questions. That's going to flesh out workflows that basically results or respond to those events as well. So with Scott Wlaschin, my understanding is what he is attempting to share with the industry is first, let's event storm. You grab the domain experts in the room that are responsible for different facets of the business, such as, I don't know, customer support, shipping, purchases, whatever a business has, accounting, warehouse, etc. Bring all these people into a room, have a huge wall, buy hella of index cards or post-its, and identify all the events that occur that can be organized into individual workflows. And start off with that. And when I mention individual workflows, well, yeah, the workflows are going to also be identified as a result of identifying how these events occur and what these events result in. Okay, so like that's pretty cool. I never considered it like that, and then so from these events you flesh out workflows, right? And workflows can have other workflows. So you really have a pipeline that kind of runs horizontal, right? From whatever is the catalyst to all these processes getting kicked off to workflows that may be running vertical that are adjacent or perpendicular. I don't know what the right term is from this pipeline. So for example, a customer places an order, right? Maybe that's the catalyst. A customer places an order, right? So if you can visualize, that's probably the very first event that gets kicked off, that spawns off a whole bunch of other events within this business pipeline or this business process, right? So when someone makes a purchase, then what happens, right? Well, if they make a purchase, then someone probably needs to be notified that a purchase was made. Well, who needs to be notified? Well, maybe the warehouse needs to be notified that a purchase was made, or maybe like, you know, when we think about ubiquitous language, maybe it's not a purchase, but warehouse needs to be notified that, hey, we need a product that needs to be put on the dock and prepared to ship, right? So the warehouse responds to that. Who else responds to it? Well, sales probably, or maybe not sales, I don't know, but definitely accounting. Accounting, they probably need to be notified so that they can record that purchase in some reports, whether it's daily or weekly, monthly, or or annually. Okay, so you have warehouse that responds to event, you have accounting that responds to event. But you know what? Warehouses, they're their own, they have their own workflow as well. They're going to have some events that spawn off. Warehouse is going to say request received event, uh, re- request being investigated event, uh, request filled or order filled event. Like there's going to be a number of events with accounting. I'm sure that there's going to be some events like, purchase recorded events, report generated events, whatever that stuff is. I'm not the domain expert in those arenas, but to make what I'm basically saying is you have this business pipeline, and within this pipeline that runs from left to right, you have workflows that run from top down that are adjacent to this pipeline that represent different departments of this business that have their own processes that ultimately respond to this initial event for the business, which was someone just made a purchase. So, all right, that's my sermon. This Nikeza thing that has nothing to do with an actual business and purchasing things. This has more to do with streamlining content from a person's designated platforms. I could have said that better. Basically, it streamlines content from the platforms that someone has content on, such as YouTube, WordPress, Medium.com, Stack Overflow, podcasts that person may be a guest on, etc. So we flushed out all these events. This page requested down here, this portal, that's probably going to be of profile, and OCD is taking over. Come here. Registration is, see, these are all pages, right? So registration is a page. It probably is not going to have a profile because the profile doesn't get created until it gets registered. Latest is, I would say, profile, because we take that profile information, specifically their ID, and we get their subscriptions, which, yeah, this might be ID. Yeah, it might be something like this. It says that it should probably say profile ID. I'm going to say profile right now. And, a lot of this stuff is going to be profile. Subscriptions. And we do this over here. Followers. Portfolio. Content type links. Topic links. So we have, all this is going to look something like, it's either going to be profile or a profile ID or a provider, right? Organize this over here. Here. And these types were fleshed out. All these types that I have, these were all fleshed out as a result of doing this event storming. And so this is what I'm trying to practice as a new concept or a new approach for domain-driven design, in which I'm building out an application. Okay, in this case, it's a mobile application. Now, what else? This registration, page requested, yeah, I don't think that needs anything. So we talked about events. We talked about some types that were fleshed out as a result of being associated to certain events. Something else that needs to be considered in his book is, well, how do these events get triggered? And I believe what I read in his book is that, well, events have to occur from something. Now, some events occur from other events, right? As I kind of discussed several minutes ago. But you also have events that may not spawn from maybe an event. I mean, an event is something that happened, right? So ultimately, you could say that, but you can also say that an event occurred, if we're talking about at a systems level, from it occurred from a directive or it occurred from a command. Okay, so a command can be responsible for an event occurring. Okay, so when we think about a mobile app, a command can be the result of someone clicking a button, right? And this goes into like MVVM commands like WPF and Xamarin Forms. You know, a command implements iCommand, in which iCommand is an interface that has execute and can execute, right? Well, not to focus on the MVVM command, but just saying that a command is something that occurs maybe by some actor. I don't know, I'm not sure if actor is the right term because I think actor is a term used for doing UML, but event occurs or event has a trigger. And well, to make long story short, we should probably identify commands. Now, this module is called events. And well, maybe I should create another module called commands. And I mean, this is new to me, so I'm going to be fumbling around more than likely. So we say commands, something like that. And we have module commands, okay? And so what we probably want to say is, if we look at our events, notification events, well, that's going to happen on the server. That's how that stuff gets triggered. Link events, link featured. Well, okay, there you go. So with commands, you have type, I don't know, command, I don't know. And you have feature and link. It's really going to be a link ID. Okay. So we currently just have ID right here. And that ID, let me go back to command. If you say feature link, then I guess ID is still okay. Okay. Now, why do I have a red squiggly? The unexpected identifier and member definition. Type command equals feature link. Are you sure? You should be straight. What are you complaining about? Oh, because command, where's command defined at? I mean, where's ID defined at? ID is in the case of comment. So I say open, well, I might as well copy paste this. And I say, come here. Say open the case of comment. All right, so that squiggly should go away, you would think, okay? And we'll just try to go ahead and build this, and you did not go away. Why didn't you go away? Files in library. So maybe I need to edit my project maybe and say express that the command needs to get pulled in. Oh, it does. Command gets pulled in before model. Hmm. I don't want to spend all my time. I don't want to spend. Oh, because, oh no. I need to open model. That's why. My phone's ringing. I gotta call her back. So open. No, you know what? No, forget that. It's Scott speaking. How can I help you? Hello. Hey, what's up? Yeah, I didn't save it yet. Let me call you back in like 10 minutes. I got to wrap up something real fast. All right. Bye. See ya. All right. So, like, I need to say open model, right? Because I think that's what it's complaining about. And oh, model. Okay, cool. And that should build. No, I need to open up my output. Come here. Still failed. Why are you still failing? Unexpected identifier and yo, what the freak? Okay, so model has to come before command. So I'll go back to my F sharp. Oh yeah. All right, so this should work now, right? So like, oh, come here, move that over there. Come here, do that right here. Come here. All right, so like, come here, yeah. So now the squiggly should go away because I edited the fs proj file, and the compile order should be correct now. God damn it! What else do I got to do? The file in libraries with namespace that says module commands. And see, this is why I don't like recording, and people see that there's certain things that I still haven't handled yet. Open model, right? So I say open model. Like this should just work. I mean, the order shouldn't matter. And type command equals feature link ID. It says unexpected identifier, and I'm like, why are you unexpected? If I do a rebuild, so we have command that depends on model. If I go to my fs proj, I have model that comes before command. Okay. Now, I mean, I guess I could put command already at the end, but I don't think that's necessary. I really don't. I mean, if anything, I could also probably close out all these windows. Yeah, you know what? I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. I'm going to close out these windows. I'm going to try to build, and if it still complains about an error, then I am going to terminate, because this is still preview. I'm going to terminate this IDE and then relaunch it. This error says unexpected identifier and member definition. Files and libraries or multiple file applications must begin with a namespace or module declaration. Only the last source file of the application may emit such a declaration. What are you talking about, Willis? Module commands. I don't think I need to add anything else in here. What are you saying? All right, so like if I look at how events is done, module events, right? I'm not doing anything else. It says type notifications equal, then whatever. Say type command equal. No, this is discriminated union type. Boom, boom, boom. Yo, you should work. If I don't have this ID in here, if I just go like this right here, are you happy? Huh? It looks happy. And it's happy. So why the are you not accepting my command? Come here. Like this command is identified in, yeah, so it has something. It's in module. All this should be public. Yeah, I don't understand. It should just work. ID is in model, and events not complaining. Command, you shouldn't be complaining either. Open model. All right, so I'm going to close all this out, and I'm going to open it back up. Shoot. How do I open it back up? It should work. Like, I don't know what's missing. I'm hoping that because this is a preview version of Visual Studio, that it just was out of sync. Okay, we'll find out if it's crap. Okay. Now, you are complaining because you don't know what an ID is. File in libraries or multiple file applications must begin with a namespace or module declaration. Okay. Say module commands. All right, do I change that? Now, what if I just say model.command? I mean, because that's where you're at, right? What if I say this? What if I say model dot what? Hold up. Shoot. What if I say model dot ID? I mean, IntelliSense says you're here, right? You still gonna complain? Yeah, it still wants to complain. Now the IntelliSense says it's in here. Unexpected identifier and member definition. And if I remove that, everything's happy. Yeah, that's messed up. I don't understand. So we're going to ignore that part right now. I'm going to keep it moving. And we'll just keep the ID part commented out. And then unfeature link is another command. Yeah, it's really bothering me. Unfeature link is another command. OCD says you should work, man. Ugh. You should work. Hold up, come here. Why doesn't Control KU undo the comment? Okay, whatever. Uh, and it's still doing an unexpected ID. Type ID equals type ID equals ID. Yeah, ooh. Oh, hold up. No, this should be okay. Yeah, yeah, there's something I'm missing that's obvious that I just don't see. Oh, shoot. All right, that's it. That's my bad. Okay, so we got that in there. And yeah, this is from me going back and forth between Elm and F sharp. Elm, you don't have this of thing, this of reserved word, but in F sharp you do. So that's my bad. All right, so you got a command, you say feature link, unfeature link, right? And that's going to spawn off events for link featured and link unfeatured, right? Now, you also have other commands such as something like, validate form, okay? And that's going to be of a registration dot form, I think. Come here. Registration form. Registration form. Okay. So that's another command. Okay. And OCD is taking over. Come here. And you have some. So when you have a command called validate form, that should spawn off a form validated, and it also should do a registration failed that ultimately should result in that. That registration failed. It should probably be a form not validated, something like that. Okay. And we just added a new event because what happens if you try to validate the form, but the form is not, has issues, all right? It's still invalidated. So form validated, form not validated, all right? So registration.form, okay. And you have, what else? What are some other commands that we have that will result in these events that we fleshed out earlier? Um, you know, I should be charging my phone. I need to charge my phone. All right, I'll charge you later. So you got registration succeeded, profile. So what happened? How do you get to registration succeeded? What needs to happen? Well, first you need to have a command that says validate form. And then you need to, once the form gets validated, then you probably want to execute another command for submitting the form, right? Because there's a form submitted event right here. And so, say register, say try register form. And you know what? I don't even think we need a save form in here. Probably do something like this, right? Try register. And this is going to be of, and then when you try register, it should be of a validated form, right? And so we have this registration dot validated form. That's what we probably should use, okay? And so we have a registration dot validated form, and when we probably should have a registration dot unvalidated form, okay? Now the question is, what's the point of having a registration dot form then? A registration dot form, I don't even see that in here. Let's go back. This registration dot form should probably be a registration dot unvalidated form. Okay, I got it. This should be, I feel like this module should be internal. I'm not going to go there. Okay, so we go back. Unvalidated form, validated form. Okay, so we go back to our model. We go back to our events, and we say, okay, so we got these events for a form validated. How does a form get validated? Well, you have to probably send a request by means of a command saying, please validate this form, and that will probably result in a form validated event. Okay, now you also have this form submitted, and so we have a command called try register. All right, well, try register and form submitted. That doesn't sound related because we use the term submitted here, but then we have register in another place. And I guess domain-driven design says, oh, you should use ubiquitous language. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll use ubiquitous language. So I'm like, try submit then, right? And so at least we're almost on the same page, So we do this over here, try submit. And try to submit what? Registration.validated form. Good stuff. Okay, so now we go back over here, right? And registration failed. Well, registration failed from trying to submit the form, okay? And that's fine. Well, we also have this login requested. The login requested event is under this registration events because if you successfully submitted your form, the very next thing that should occur for this Nikeza application is you should be logged in, right? You register and then you're logged in once that's successful. Okay, so that is from the try submit. Or is it? You try submit, but ultimately, when you come back to the application hours later, days later, a month later, sometimes you just want to sign in or you just want to log in. So we should have a log in, and log in what? Well, we log in with our credentials, all right? Say credentials, okay? And I don't think we defined credentials. So we could define credentials like now. Okay, credentials is going to be your username and your password, which I'm surprised I don't have it in here. Well, I have the the form has a email and a password and a confirmed password. Okay, but that's just for that's not. We may be able to use that. No, I don't want to overload that. Nah, we're gonna say credentials, right? So we're gonna say type credentials equals, and then we have, I say email is email. I say password is password. Okay, and come here. We have that. Okay, now one can say that, well, hell's bells. You can just you can use these credentials in your registration form. You could, but I'm not because I don't feel like it. All right, so we have login of credentials. And credentials, why aren't you lighting up? Why aren't you being recognized by IntelliSense? All this is open, right? This is the model. I should be the. I opened up the model. All right, so maybe I just need to build it. So you log in with your credentials. That should, yeah. So that's recognized. It just hasn't got colored yet by the IDE. Okay. And what else do we want to do? Okay, let's go back to events. Oh, come here, come here. Let's go back to events, and we see logged in event and logged out event. Okay. Well, that stuff resulted from the login command. Okay. And that resulted in a profile being found through the login process. Right. So that logic is on the server, and the server is going to say yay or nay. Okay. So what other commands can we flesh out that basically dictate these events? Well, we're almost done with this, right? There's a whole bunch of profile events: profile requested, profile saved. Well, how does the profile requested event occur? Well, okay, well, a profile request event occurs when, well, one is when you log in, you're requesting the profile, or you're requesting the provider. And that's the thing. There's a little bit of, I'm not sure if ambiguity is the right word, but there's a little bit of confusion with Nikeza server and also the web application. Is there's no notion of just a user. Like users on Nikeza, they're automatically deemed as providers, like content providers. When you know it should be perfectly allowable for someone to just surf Nikeza, but not necessarily create any content. And I mean, I knew about that. And yesterday, someone had signed up or created a profile on Nikeza, and they said, "Well, I don't really have a collection of data sources. That's why my profile is pretty much empty." I was just checking it out, and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." So that's something I have to handle. Is I need to create a notion of a user, and then that user can be, that's really a discriminated union, right? A user can be a provider, or it could just be a user. All right. Anyway, when you log in with your credentials. All right. When you request for a profile to be requested, that stems from login, but it also stems from a command of view a view. Shoot. View profile. Okay. And, or is it view provider? It's view provider. Okay. Now, let me see. Yep, that's fine. So a command for a view provider will result in a profile requested, right? But Scott, you're not really using ubiquitous language because this says profile requested, but here you're saying provider. Okay, fine. View profile. Okay. And no, I'm going back. View provider. And we'll just change you over here. Provider requested. But it may be a profile requested and well, if you do profile requested, like the story behind that or a scenario is you're editing your profile. You're now featuring your topics. You got a sex change, or or you're changing your last name. You got married. I don't know, right? So this profile requested this days, and this view profile, yeah, I guess that stays too, right? So is it really view profile? No, it's edit profile, okay? And what you want to view is you want to view a provider, okay? You say view provider. No, you just say view. View what? Provider, okay? So we got that right there, you know? And you got profile saved. Well, okay, that's easy. You say save, save what? Profile. Okay. So you got that in there, you know. Da, 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 okay. Now what? Profile save. We got subscribe, unsubscribe. Those are events, subscribed and unsubscribed. Well, how does that happen? Well, you have to say subscribe. Okay. You subscribe to who? You subscribe to you subscribe to a provider, but ultimately you're going to be subscribing to yeah, we'll keep it simple, a provider, man. Okay. And same thing with unsubscribe, right? And that's how you trigger the subscribed event and the unsubscribed events. Okay. Okay, so we got that right there. Now what? Okay, well, so we got that knocked off. And then we got the pages requested. And so all that is pretty much a profile. So you just say, this may be interesting. You say view, page, or you say request page, request, something like that, page. What's a page? I don't know. We'll just go ahead and, where do I put this at? My model. We'll just throw a page up here. I should probably put page way up top. Put a page right here. So type page, and more than likely it's going to be page of string of string. Yeah, something like that. Okay. So you go back up here. Yeah, maybe I should have it. Yeah. Okay. What's he done? All right. So then you go back over here, and we have request. Request what? A page. All right. So you go back to our events, and you got events over here, and I think we're straight. Page requested. The stuff is still going to be based on a profile. So you request page, and that page is going to be of profile, something like that. More likely it'll change, but right now this is what makes logical sense to me. And so this is an example of my attempt of practicing domain-driven design, domain modeling made functional. and fleshing out the commands. Feature link, unfeature link, validate, try submit, log in, edit, view, save, subscribe, unsubscribe, request. Okay. And so to recap, we have all these events down here, YUL, and we have our model over here that has a whole bunch of types, yeah, or should I say records specifically. And we have our commands that are responsible for triggering these events, yeah, okay. And this will be the end of my video in which this is Event Storming Volume 3. Good stuff. And not sure if all this stuff is going to work out, but this is me practicing. And because I'm not motivated lately, I had to make things interesting by doing some live coding. And that entertains my mind. It keeps me engaged because I'm struggling to stay engaged, but I have this vision of doing really, really well in my profession, and this is absolutely necessary. This is a primary ingredient for me to basically destroy my competition and set myself apart. And what's that term? What's the term when you have like mainstream or you have the herd? Yeah, this is my strategy of being an outlier. Share what other people aren't willing to share, and go above and beyond, right? And that's what's up. Yo, my podcast on functional geekery aired yesterday. You can check that out too. I'm Scott Nimrod. I'm in South Beach, Miami, by means of Cleveland, Ohio. I am out. Adios, de veo, aratito, mother.